Okay, guys, so I'm sitting here reading the Bible, and I'm in John 18. I think it's a lot of verses, but basically John 18 verses 28 through 38. And one thing I realized is that, oh my gosh, there's a lot of noise going on. Hold on, let me turn this down. One thing that I'm really realizing is that God will meet you I wrote it down because I was just on a phone call and I was like, no, let me hang up the phone call and record the video because this is crazy. Jesus will meet you at your level of heart posture, understanding, and then take you where he wants you to go. So sorry guys, my eyes is breaking out a little bit because I think I used some type of face cream that like literally tried to take me out. So my eyes are like sensitive and it just looks like crazy. I don't care. So Jesus will meet you at your point of heart posture, and he'll meet you at your level of heart posture and your level of understanding. And then he'll take you where he wants you to go. But the take you where he wants you to go part is the part where we meet him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't force Pilate to make a specific decision. And part of this is because it was will for him to die for the world. But sidebar for like other situations. Like Jesus will, and I've noticed that like even in my own like intimacy with him, where it's like he will meet me at my level of heart posture and understanding. So even when I struggle with idolatry, what's it called? Like idolatry of a bunch of things, honestly. And he did a whole thing where he had me in my room and he was like, homegirl. He had me sitting in my prayer closet and I was like looking out, and he had me clean out my closet. I think the day prior, and he said, look around. This is what your heart looks like. The room looked crazy. This is what your heart looks like. And I was like, oh, he said, everything that you love. And then I had my music playing in the background, and he said, and I had scriptures all over the wall. He said, and I'm in here with you, but this is what your heart looks like. It's full of things that you love and little spurts of me. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And that was his way of telling me that I struggled with idolatry. And that was his way of meeting me. But my heart posture was not to struggle with that. I want to please the Lord. And I love him too. And so like my heart posture, he met me at my heart posture, which was, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to do anything that's going to not please you. So he met me there with compassion, with grace. And then he met me at my level of understanding. I'm a very visual learner. And so he takes me through like these life experiences. I'm like, not like, you know, some people got to make it up. Like, and then this was God. And then you try to, no, like he will literally, oh my gosh, I just can't even explain it. Like he'll literally put me in these in vivo with him experiences and speak to me. It's just crazy. So, that was my level of understanding, visual learning and life experiences and intimacy, because that's where I'm at with him. And that's what I like. That's how I like to learn. That's how I learn best. So even in school, like when I had a one-on-one teacher, I learned a lot better. When I had visual things, when I had things to touch, when I had life experiences, when we went on a field trip, those things helped me learn. So he met me at my heart posture, which was, Lord, I don't want to please you. I don't want to please you. Lord, I don't want to hurt you. I want to please you, but there's something in me. He knew there was something in me that he wanted to get out. So he met me at that heart posture with grace. Even though idolatry was there, he met me with grace. He met me with love and compassion. And then at my understanding, and he said, it was so simple. And sometimes I think I look at how God talks to me and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm still learning a lot. But he sat me in the in my closet and he said, look around. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is what your heart looks like. And I'm like, oh, lots of stuff. It's a mess in here. I like all this stuff. He's like, yeah, it's stuff that you like. And there's little spurts of me. But I want to help you. And I'm in here with you, but I want to help you. And I was like, oh. So anywho, Jesus will meet you at your level of understanding and your heart posture. He'll meet you at your heart posture. And that's what he did even with the Pharisees. And I was reading and I was wondering, like, why did you meet? The disciples would ask the exact same question that the Pharisees would ask, but Jesus met them differently. He would respond to them differently. You know what I mean? When they were wondering, like, is this the Son of God? Or they were following him, learning with him, but they still had curiosity about his identity, right? But the Pharisees, at a point, they were wondering about him and his identity, but it was at a different heart posture. So he addressed them differently than he addressed the disciples. Crazy, right? But yeah, so I'm saying it again. Okay, for those of you guys who don't like people repeating themselves, I repeat myself. So Jesus will meet you at your heart posture level and your level of understanding, and he will take you where he wants you to go. But that wants you to go part, you have to kind of meet him there, and like, we're gonna go together. Like, you got to say yes. Like when he met Peter and he said, come and follow me. And he had made, like, Peter was a fisherman, so he met him in that fisherman state, draw your net again. He's like, oh, well, I've been fishing for a long time, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, yeah, I know, do it again. He's like, okay, boop, all the fish, bang. And now Peter's like, now you got Peter's attention. This is how Jesus will work with you. This is how the Ruach HaKodesh will work with you. Oh my gosh, I love him so much. Like, it's just crazy. So, but then when he said, come and follow me and I'll make you fishers of men, he had a choice at that point, right? So we have a choice, like, to follow or not to follow. Okay. So, I'm reading John 18. Really, I read like more than what I'm sharing with you right now, but I'm going to share this because I'm just get right to the nitty gritty. Jesus before Pilate. And it blew my mind because I'm sitting here and I'm like, Lord, I don't know if any of you guys have ever prayed for people in the Bible. And I don't know that I have ever prayed for people in the Bible up until today. Like, I really feel for some people that back in the Bible days, because some of them really did not know. You know what I mean? And some of them were really gaining understanding and just had some bad breaks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord, will you forgive them? Like, am I going to see them in heaven? Like, because I'm going to heaven in Jesus' name. But am I going to see them? Or will they be there? Because, man, like, I feel for them. It wasn't until today, Peter denied Jesus like a bunch of times. We're going to get to it. But Peter denied Jesus like 3 times or whatever. And it wasn't until today that my heart was moved with compassion for him. Before, I used to be like, dang, Jesus, you going through all this. And then even your own man's, what did he do? He denied you 3 times. And that's crazy. Dang, Peter, that sucks. And I had some level of compassion, like, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like it was today. Like today, I feel like the heart of God, like the Lord softened my heart for Peter, because going back to this thing, he'll meet you at your heart posture, your level of understanding. Like, it wasn't Peter's heart posture for him to want to deny Jesus. That's a whole nother word for another day. I don't have full understanding on that, so I'm actually not going to talk on that between him and Judas, because that's just like what came to my mind just now. But yeah. So anywho, he denied him 3 times, and I had a compassion in my heart. I'm like, man, come on, Peter, like you can do this. Like, but I don't know why he did that. God didn't even explain to us why he did that. He just told him it was going to happen. You know what I mean? But I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, but we do this stuff all the time in different ways. But I'm just like, Peter, come on, you can do it. You can overcome this. And that is how I believe that God sees Peter. That is how I believe that God sees us when we're met with sin in a test, or we're being tempted by our own desires, in the flesh, the devil, all that. Like, he's like, you can do this. I've given you the power to do this. So I'm like, over here like, oh, Peter. And like, you can do this. And I'm like, man, like, I know that sucks. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know that like, so yeah. And I felt for him that when the rooster crowed, I was like, dang, man, that's how I felt. And that was a new feeling for me. So I want to share that with you guys. And I wondered if you guys ever like felt that way too. But anywho, write your comments below. But yeah, so Pilate. So when I was reading this, I noticed that Pilate was beginning to get understanding. And I wondered, I had so much curiosity towards Pilate. I was like, did you have a heart for God somewhere in there? You know what I mean? Like, what was going on? Or maybe this was the first time or whatever, but I'm just gonna read a little bit. I'm going to like read in conversation. So it's going to sound like I'm skipping verses. So we're going to read John 18:28 through, we just going to keep on reading. But yeah, so, we'll start from verse 29, because verse 28, they brought him to Pilate. So Pilate's asking them, what charge do you have against this man? And the Jews are saying, the Jews are saying, if this man weren't a criminal, then we wouldn't have handed him over to you. And Pilate said, you take him and judge him according to your law. It's not, you take him and judge him according to your law. And then they replied to him and said, it's not legal for us to put anyone to death. So they knew that they couldn't put anyone to death within their law. Then Pilate goes back to Jesus in the headquarters and he said, are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus said, are you asking this on your own, or have others told you about me? Now, I believe that if the Pharisees, if the Jews would have asked him, are you the king of the Jews? You know what I'm saying? Trying to catch him up in something, he would have had a smart remark, which he had before. Like meeting them at their heart posture and their understanding, because they could take it because this is what you're dishing out. You know what I mean? He met you there. But here he's saying, are you asking on your own, or have others told you about me? He meets Pilate at a similar space where I feel like he kind of met the disciples when they had genuine curiosity. And I'm just sitting here like, right. Was Pilate curious? Like, I don't know. So, I think he was. Are you asking this on your own, or have others told you about me? Pilate says, I'm not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief of priests handed you over to me. What have you done? And Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight so that I wouldn't be handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here. So he's basically saying, like, I'm not of this world. My kingdom is not here. Not of this is not my kingdom. My kingdom is somewhere else. And Pilate replies, you're a king then. And then he says, you say that I'm a king. I was born for this, and I have come into the world to testify to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice. I'm reading from the CSB version out of the She Reads Truth Bible. I love their text when I read, like how it looks, the font and all that. So anyway, I'll reread that. You say that I'm a king. I was born for this. I have come into the world for this, to testify the truth. Everyone who listens to the truth listens to my voice. Pilate said, what's the truth? He asked the right questions. So then after he asked that, he goes out and he's telling the people, I find no grounds for charging him. You have a custom that I release one prisoner to you during Passover. Do you want to release the king of the Jews? And the Jews shouted back, not this man, but Barnabas, some criminal who did X, Y, and Z, which is a whole revelation in itself. But that I learned from at church. Keep going. And Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. The soldiers twisted a crown together, put on his head, clothed him in a purple robe. And they kept coming to him saying, Hail, King of the Jews. And they were slapping his face. Oh, Jesus. This was his life. This was his life. This is what he had to. Wow. Mocking or not, there are so many times we call him King Jesus and slap him in his face. But he died for our sin. That wasn't the point. That was just something else. Let's keep going. So Pilate went outside again and said to them, look, I'm bringing him out to let you know that I have found no grounds to charge him. So Jesus came out. He was wearing the purple robe and the crown. And Pilate said to them, here's the man. And then when the chief priests and it says the temple servants saw him, they shouted, "Crucify, crucify." And Pilate responded, "Take him and crucify him yourselves. I find no charge against him." And they told him, "We have a law, and according to the law, he ought to die because he made himself son of God." This is the part that got me, along with the other stuff. We have a law, and according to that law, he ought to die because he made himself son of God. When Pilate heard this statement, he was afraid more than ever. I think that Pilate feared the Lord. I don't think he had enough knowledge. This is just my thoughts. I don't know you guys' thoughts too, but I don't think that he had the knowledge. Like his heart was there, but then he didn't have enough knowledge, enough understanding. But he had some level of understanding. So that's why Jesus even met him at his understanding in verse 36, where it says, "If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight." Just like Pilate's servants would fight because he was the king of that thing. Like he could understand that. But there was some level of understanding about God that Pilate had. So as he's saying, according to the law, he ought to die because he made himself son of God. I don't know, like Pilate, and then for him to then be, it says that when Pilate heard the statement, he was more afraid than ever. I'm wondering in my brain, because I'm gonna speak for myself. If it was me, I don't know what I would have did in that moment. But I'm just thinking in this moment, like, yo, can you imagine Pilate thinking back to what Jesus had said before, "My kingdom is not of this world," and then it's lining up what these people are saying right here when they say, "We have a law, according to the law, he ought to die because he made himself the son of God." And he's just thinking like, this man literally just said his kingdom isn't of this world. And they're saying that he claimed to be the son of God. It's like all piecing together. And it's like, I can feel, even in this very moment, his anxiety. Like, yo, I don't have enough understanding about this, but there was something in him, I believe, that feared the Lord. Even if he didn't know how to really do that, how to walk that out. And there are people in that space in this life. Like, Lord have mercy on us all. Lord have mercy on us all. So, and then it says, so when Pilate heard this statement, he was afraid more than ever. He went back to the headquarters and asked Jesus, "Where are you from?" But Jesus did not give him an answer. So Pilate said to him, "Do you refuse to speak to me? Do you know that I have authority to release you and have authority to crucify you?" Jesus said, "You would have no authority over me at all if it had not been given to you from above." So he's honoring that, but he's not idolizing him, right? But he's honoring. He's like, yeah, God gave you this position on this earth, and you wouldn't have that authority to do this at all if it wasn't given to you from God. Oh, Jesus, even in this moment, meeting him with compassion, like, now we all know that he had to die, right? But I'm talking about something else here. You know what I mean? You would have no authority over me at all if it hadn't been given to you from above. This is why the one who handed me over to you has greater sin. So that's a whole nother thing. I just realized we all say, like, all the time that, like, no sin is greater than the other. That's a lie. And I'm thinking, like, you know, we all, like, know that scripture where it's like, oh, but the one who blasphemed, that sin cannot be forgiven. We always talk about that. This is talking about a sin that's greater than another. So that's like a whole nother study I want to do. If somebody else does it, let me know. Post a video so I could come and watch it. If you have leadership, run it through them. Like see what they think. I'm like very curious about this thing that we've been walking around saying like there's no sin greater than the other. But I'm like, they're like, this is right here saying that they have greater sin. So anywho, you have no authority over me at all. This is verse 11, chapter 19 at this point. Sorry, guys. Yeah, you have no authority over me at all. If it hadn't been given, you would have no authority over me at all if it hadn't been given to you from above. This is why the one who handed me over to you has greater sin. Lord, give me understanding. Give me understanding about that one. More understanding, Lord, in the name of Jesus. Then it says, from that moment, Pilate kept trying to release him. Nah, you cannot tell me that he didn't have some type of heart. Like there was something working in him, even for Jesus to meet him at that place of compassion. When the people wanted to even crucify him before, or do all this like crazy stuff to him before, why would you do this to me now? Like talking to them in this way, like, why would you do this to me now? I've preached in your synagogues in public. Why are you trying to take me in secret? But this is so the will of the Father could happen. He didn't respond this way to Pilate when he came to crucifixion. He said, you would have no authority over me at all if it hadn't been given to you from above. This is why the one who handed me over to you has greater sin. Just letting him know, like, the sin is there, but the one who handed me over to you has greater sin. I was just looking at him like, I could just imagine Jesus just looking at him like, yeah. And I'm just like, I think I wrote in my notes on the thing, it was like, you came to comfort him. What did I say? Yeah. Also, he already answered him before. He told him that his kingdom is not of this world. But I just was shocked in there. Like he comforted him in this moment where he was about to die. This is the life that we're called to live. Lord, give me the faith. Give me the faith. This is the life, guys, that we're called to live. Like, all right. So then it says, from that moment on, Pilate kept trying to release him. He kept trying to release him. But the Jews shouted, if you release this man, you are not a friend of Caesar. If you release this man, you are not a friend of Caesar. Anyone who makes himself a king opposes Caesar. So they tried to comfort this man's character like they did for Jesus. And Pilate, he was like, yeah, no, that one, let me just. These people really knew the law, like for real. So I don't even know if that was a law, but he just, even that statement alone, like, can you imagine, like, and this is like sometimes happens like in our friend groups or whatever, or in a situation for the unfriendly friend, I guess you would say, where the person is like, you know what I mean? The person is like, where the person is like, here is your king. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. I got a text and now I'm just like, But I don't want to, I tried to mute my computer, but I don't really want to mute it because there's a fireplace thing going on. That's something that you could do. Like when you do Bible study, if you just put a fireplace on your computer, if you don't have a real fireplace, the crackling of the fire, it just does something for me. It's very comforting. But then somebody texted me in the middle of the video and I just got distracted for a hot second. But anywho, yeah, like people will do that. If you're this person's friend, then you will treat this person this way. If you're this person's friend, you can't call yourself a friend of this person, but you do X, Y, and Z in order to get you to sin. In order to get you to sin. If you go to this church and you do this, that means that you're not loyal. If you do, but your loyalty is to who though? But your friendship is greater to who though? The Lord at the end of the day, right? So I'm just sitting here, mind you, this is that revelation I literally just caught in this moment. So I'm like, whenever I catch a revelation in the moment, I'm like, Lord, please let it stick to my body like oats and give me a face like flint in the name of Jesus. But I'm just like reading that. I'm like, oh my gosh. So then Pilate heard these words and he brought Jesus outside and sat down on the stove pavement. It was preparation day for Passover and it was about noon. He told the Jews, here is your king. Even from the time when he started addressing Jesus as their king. Didn't even call him a mere man anymore at that point. I think there was another time when he had brought him out and he was like, here's the man. Do you want this man or Barnabas? Or there was one other point he called him man, but he was gaining understanding. But once he had that fear, he was like, yeah, here's your king. Here's your king. And they shouted, take him away, crucify him. And Pilate said, should I crucify your king? No, there was something working inside of Pilate. There was something working inside of Pilate. Jesus. And they said that we have no king but Caesar. And I wrote in my notes, I wondered if they like denounced him at that point. But yeah. Then he handed him over to be crucified. And that was just the prophetic word like over his life that was supposed to happen. So yeah. I also want to encourage you guys to, when you highlight, it's cool to have different color highlighters. It's like coming off right now. You can barely see it, but I wrote it, I got to rewrite it in Sharpie, some like what each one meant. And as I was reading, I used to highlight a lot of the things that Pharisees or like people did that I thought was bad in red, as in like, this is bad, Satan, da da da. But then I had some in this, which was God's word, God's character, God's will, this color. So as I was like, as the Lord was like, as I was walking more with the Lord, and like, I feel like he was maturing me in certain areas, and I'm still being matured in areas, I realized that some stuff I was highlighting in this was really this all along. Or this is my word for prophetic words or prophecy coming to pass. It was really these two, but not these two, but not this one. And, or really God using this one for it to wind up being these two. And I was just like, oh, I got some growing to do. We all got some growing to do. Because a lot of times we think that the work of the devil is just like, you know, just, yeah. We think it's the devil. And it could be. But it will always be used for the good. Or indeed, it's just like what has to happen for the will of God to come to pass. Anywho, yeah, so Jesus, I'm just like, this whole thing just did it for me this morning. Like, quite literally, I'm like, oh my gosh. So Jesus meets you at your, I don't know any other, he probably meets you in other places, you know, but this is just what he gave me this morning. And I want to share with you guys because I was on the phone talking about it and I was like, no, I need to record this like right now. But he'll meet you at your heart posture, your heart posture level, and your level of understanding, and he'll take you where he wants you to go if you're willing to go with him. Now, Pilate could have said, I'm not doing that. Y'all gonna have to deal with this man. And God probably could have given him another way to be crucified, however, but the crucifixion had to happen. You know what I mean? So that's the take him where he wants you to go type thing. It all just had to happen for that way. I mean, all had to happen that way. But, yeah, that's what the Lord gave me. And I just want to know, like, do you guys pray for people in the Bible? Because I really, as I was reading this, I was praying for Pilate. I'm like, man, but you died for sin. So I think Pilate is good. But I've been praying, like, I'm like, no, I want to pray for Pilate because I'm like, Lord, some people didn't know and they didn't really have what we had, what we have now. Like, they didn't even have that now. Even people way back when, like, before Jesus even came. Lord, are you going to forgive them too? I'm just like wondering. But anywho, Pilate, he's number one on my hit list. I'm praying for Pilate because I just know, I don't know. I don't know what he did the rest of his life. I don't know what historians and theologians, I don't know about nothing that Pilate did or his background. I don't know anything about that. What I know is in this moment where he had an interaction with Jesus Christ, yo, first of all, I'm just sitting here like, if I had an interaction with Jesus Christ, like the body, him right here, bow, that would be crazy. But in this, I just know in this current moment, in the purity of the word, I'm praying for Pilate. I'm praying for Pilate. And those are the places that Jesus meets us at. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. You know, it's about 30 minutes. I didn't think it was going to be that long, but I love you guys.